Coming up, a single rollover vehicle crash in Jasper County leaves a man with serious injuries.
Coming off of a record-setting Monday, we've got more humidity and heat in the forecast. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the Greenbush Kids Summer Camp has 3 goals they want kids to achieve this summer.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayes.
Broke a record yesterday. It was slashed last night. 79 degrees. That's as low as we dropped. That is our warmest low for June the 13th. Breaks the previous record set back in 1958. And look at Joplin Regional, already sitting at 81 degrees. This is similar in nature to what we experienced yesterday morning. Whole bunch of high 70s, low 80s. Do want to point out, though, the heat advisories stay up to the north of us. Not a whole lot of action down to the south as far as watches, warnings, or even advisories. We do see the heat advisories stretching now still from the Gulf Coast all the way up to the Great Lakes. Just kind of shifted more so to the east, running all the way to the Atlantic coast. As far as what we've got on the radar, clear and clean as can be. So take advantage of the strawberry moon that is out and about, bright and is beautiful. We'll switch our tower cams around here in just a little bit because that thing is so close to the earth right now. It's actually being obscured by tree lines. Trevor, don't break the studio, man. It's the 5 o'clock hour. We're not even close to being done yet. Weather trend is going to lift us up into the, let's go low 90s today. Still going to have some heat index readings that'll be around triple digits, maybe back off from where we were yesterday when we had some 101s and 102s already by the noon hour. Future track going to keep us on the dry side here all the way from Tuesday into Wednesday. You see a little sporadic rain that wants to pop up, but that's way far out to our west in the 7-day forecast. That's going to ride us consistently in the 90s. Not a whole lot of change right there until we get to Father's Day weekend. You want me to keep going?
I think so.
Yeah, I can just make up stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're doing a little microphone switch, folks. Let you behind the scenes right there. Once again, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, those are just sporadic little pops of rain. Every now and then, you get something like this. You can have an isolated thunderstorm. But here's one thing that we were able to talk about yesterday. We talked about convective available potential energy, the old CAPE. What can we eat up? What does Mother Nature need in order to form those thunderstorms? And when we look at the available energy map, that's pretty high for this time of the morning. But we've got that thing called the cap over the CAPE. The blue indicates the cap, so look at that. As far as our shaken up Coke bottle, well, nope, Mother Nature doesn't want to lift the cap on that. So once again, there's the energy. There's what's sitting over it, keeping it from bubbling up and giving us any isolated thunderstorms.
All right, well, that old CAPE sticking around.
Thank goodness for the cap.
That's good. I want to come up with another acronym to say.
SIN is what it's called, CIN.
Okay.
Convective inhibitor.
Okay. It would be a sin not to have the cap on the CAPE.
Because we've got SIN.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Sounds great. All right, thanks, Michael. Authorities respond to a single car rollover in Jasper County on Saturday night. Carl Junction Fire Protection, Jasper County Sheriff's deputies and Met's ambulance responded to a single car rollover near 3000 Peace Church Road. When first responders arrived on the scene, they found a 2006 Chevy HHR with the driver, Jason Campion of Galena, Kansas, partially ejected and pinned. Campion was transported to Freeman West with serious injuries. According to one trooper, Campion was not wearing a seatbelt and would have only suffered minor injuries if he had been. We'll have more information on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Out of control fires are scary. A fire at a gas pump is extra scary. Just before noon on Monday, officials responded to the Harps grocery store and gas station in Airport Drive. They say a pickup truck was fully engulfed in flames at the gas pump. The fire was under control in a couple of minutes. No one was injured. Authorities on Monday arrested a second inmate who escaped from the Berry County, Missouri jail earlier this month. The Berry County Sheriff's Office says Matthew Crawford was arrested in Springfield. Crawford is the second of 3 escaped inmates to be caught. Christopher Blevins was arrested last week near Casper, Wyoming. Authorities are still searching for Lance Stevens. If you know anything about his whereabouts, you were asked to contact police. The second congressional hearing about the January 6th attack on the Capitol was held Monday morning. The panel showed testimony that showed former President Trump was told his claims of election fraud were not true, but it did not stop his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Natalie Brand has the details.
The House Select Committee investigating January 6th showed new testimony to stress that former President Trump was repeatedly told his claims of election fraud were bogus.
I thought, boy, if he really believes this stuff, he has, lost contact with he's become detached from reality.
Mr. Trump was encouraged by the ideas coming from some of his campaign advisors, including Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell.
What they were proposing, I thought was nuts.
Former campaign manager Bill Stepien testified that competing camps formed after the election. He called his Team Normal and said the other pushed conspiracy theories.
I didn't think what was happening was necessarily honest or professional at that point in time.
The panel brought in former officials from Pennsylvania and Georgia to refute specific claims of fraud that they were asked to investigate.
Not only was there not evidence of 8,000 dead voters voting in Pennsylvania, there wasn't evidence of 8.
The committee also says the Trump campaign knowingly misled donors, soliciting tens of millions of dollars for an election defense fund that didn't exist. Instead, the committee says most of that money went to Mr. Trump's political organization.
The big lie was also a big ripoff.
Attorney General Merrick Garland said Monday he is following the hearings.
The January 6 prosecutors are watching all the hearings as well.
The former president released a statement calling the committee a kangaroo court meant to distract Americans. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The committee is expected to hold at least 5 more hearings. The next is Wednesday at 10 a.m. That's Eastern time, though. Wyoming Republican Liz Cheney, the committee's vice chair, says future hearings will cover former President Trump's attempt to corrupt the Department of Justice and pressure local officials to overturn the election. A local organization is helping kids take part in extracurricular activities. The Alliance of Southwest Missouri is offering a program called Full Potential. It offers assistance to area students in the form of money to pay for registration fees and equipment, as well as transportation. Officials say this program makes sure every child has a chance to reach their full potential.
When youth can get involved at an early age in any kind of sport or extracurricular activity, they're more likely to finish high school and also emerge from high school drug-free. And that really goes back to our mission here at the Alliance of wanting to promote happy, healthy families.
The Alliance offers resources to kids and their families in Jasper, Newton, Barton, and McDonald counties. Greenbush Kids Summer Camp wants to accomplish 3 goals this summer: encourage campers to do something new and outside their comfort zone, be kind and work together, and most importantly, have fun. Activities include archery, canoeing, high and low ropes courses, and science classes.
So for me, every single day of camp, if we're meeting those 3 goals, I think that gives every person, every staff, every camper some purpose and some joy in what we're doing.
Well, later in the show, our very own Jalen Banks had a chance to talk to one of the camp counselors.
Another hot one, already in the high 70s, low 80s. Remember, this is the peak of the strawberry full moon. Take advantage of it. Go out and look out to your west. You cannot miss it with the clear skies that we have. Majority of the 4 states not under a heat advisory. We do have our far northern counties that are, and look at that, extend that all the way until tomorrow night. But no matter where you are, it's going to feel about like the high 90s later on here today, and that string continues into Father's Day weekend.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, keeping your teens healthy.
New fitness requirements for kids. I'm Ian Lee with how much exercise researchers say they need to stay healthy.
Plus, it's a busy day for the Joplin Outlaws as they take on not only the Jefferson City Renegades, but 70 young baseball players who showed up for the Outlaws' annual youth camp. And gas prices continue to rise around the country, but that isn't stopping some boaters from hitting lakes and waterways this summer. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Busy start to the week for the Joplin Outlaws. Now, they hit the field against the Jefferson City Renegades, but before they even took to the diamond, The team was up early in the morning hosting its annual youth camp at Joe Becker Stadium. Around 70 youth baseball players showing up at day one of the camp, and those little athletes spent the day working on fundamentals of the game with both Outlaws players and coaches. For the team, the day all about passing on the love for the game and giving back to the fans that come out and support them every night.
I really do hope that they take away the sense of just joy of being with these kids. You know, at their age, they fell in love with the game at this time too, so I hope they take this seriously and they help these kids out.
That's why we're scooting back. We're going to use our legs, all right?
The city of Joplin does a great job of supporting us, and then we got to do our part and give back.
On me, balls on this side, balls on this side.
I'm from California, so it's different out there compared to over here. But I mean, it's real nice to get to connect with all these kids and just see how their lives are and help them, you know, try to aspire to play baseball.
Day two of the camp, that is this morning, 9 o'clock, Joe Becker Stadium. All kids 12 and under, by the way, get in free to Outlaws home games. Now to the game itself. Outlaws hosting Jeff City after facing them on the road Sunday night. Starting the bottom of the fourth, former Purple Dragon Caden Bressler drives it to right field. Two-run double for Bressler as the Outlaws go up 5-4. Later in the fourth, Michael Long puts the ball in play. Got a deep fly to center field. That is good enough for Corey Saragusa to tag up and score from third. 5 runs in the fourth inning for the Outlaws, puts them up 6-4. They keep the bats going in the fifth. Garrett Chung, get up, get out to right field. Outlaws win a wild offensive one. Final score, 11-9. Little Major League action. St. Louis Cardinals open a series against the division rival Pittsburgh Pirates. Cards, fresh off a series win over Cincinnati, took 2 out of 3 against the Reds. Lefty Zach Thompson, his first career start for St. Louis, and the Pirates jumped on him early. Diego Castillo, my goodness, solo home run to left. Pittsburgh goes up 1-0, and they score 5 on Thompson in the first 5 innings. 5's going to be a magical number here. Offense gets going in the 6th. Brendan Donovan goes to right field, a 2-run double. Cards on the board now within 3. Same inning. Dylan Carlson, runners on the corners. Carlson's going to tie this thing up. We're tied at 5, and then Paul Goldschmidt would homer as St. Louis wins this thing 7-5. The first time this year the Cardinals have overcome a 5-run deficit. The first time in the last 55 games the Cardinals have trailed by 5 or more runs headed into the 6th inning and won. Game 5 of the NBA Finals between the Boston Celtics and Golden State Warriors, with the series tied at 2 games apiece going into the night. Winner of Game 5 goes on to win 82% of the time in the NBA playoff series, and this one belongs to the Golden State Warriors on the back of former KU Jayhawk Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins, his second consecutive double-double as he finishes with 26 points and 13 rebounds, and though it feels like it's been a long time coming, Andrew Wiggins is now playing the best basketball of his NBA career. As for the Kansas City Royals on the road last night against the San Francisco Giants, 2014 World Series rematch. KC aiming for its 4th win in 5 games, but they ran into a good-looking Alex Wood, who ended up going 6 innings, struck out 5, gave up 2 earned. Wood with that win, his first win in more than a month. It is Amir Garrett taking the loss for the Royals. Haven't said that name in a while. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, another casualty of supply shortages and rising prices. This time, British fish and chips. And a check on our 7-day forecast from the KOAM Morning News returns. Just a little past 5:17, still a great time to roll some weather on the 7s. Live look over 7th and Rangeline. Beautiful blue skies on this Tuesday morning where we already sit at 81 degrees with that wind whipping in, gusting 29 miles per hour at Joplin Regional Airport. Set a record yesterday for June 13th. We only bottomed out at 79 degrees at Joplin Regional Airport. That sets the lowest warm, if you will. There's probably a better way to describe it, but I think you understand what I'm saying. The warmest lowest temperature on June the 13th. The previous record dated all the way back to 1958. So as we stand, high 70s, low 80s in the wind tracker, already a little bit more blustery than what it was yesterday, as we're pushing up to 20 miles per hour right now in Independence. We do have heat advisories for our far northern counties. You'll notice those skip a day. They go all the way into Wednesday, but even if your county's not in orange, we know it's going to be a hot and humid one. The majority of the watches and warnings associated with our heat have now really moved off to the east. Look at that, all the way, as a matter of fact, along the Atlantic coast. So the heat wave is here to stay for a while. Nothing popping up on the Skywatch storm tracker. And the big part of the heat wave that was on us yesterday now is just kind of jockeying the Mississippi River right there. And you can tell you get little pockets where it's cooler, but that's thunderstorm activity that they're picking up, and eventually they're going to be right back at it. Coming off of what was wicked weather up in the Chicagoland area yesterday up by the Great Lakes, we actually shift our severe thunderstorm risk just to the west of Chicago. We'll roll the upper plains up in Nebraska, portions of Iowa. Here in the 4 states, we stay on the quiet, warm, hot, muggy side. A whole lot of sunshine today. Push up into the low 90s. We're not going to see anything really pop up on future track here. Anything we do get is just going to be a sporadic little isolated rain. And there we go. Even if you just want to call today on the border of oppressive and very humid, you can tell the peak of the graph pushes up into the oppressive category really for every day for the rest of the week as we ride the 90s all the way into Father's Day weekend. Certainly this will be the extended period of time, the hottest weather that we've had of 2022. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Instapoll on our KOAM News Now Facebook page. Nothing like cooling down on the lake during a hot day, but now we've got to fight high gas prices because that's also going to make boating cost a whole lot more. Some boaters are willing to pay the high prices for a day of fun in the sun, and Molly Swain caught up with them.
The best thing to do is just not look, honestly.
Gas prices are the highest they have ever been, but they didn't stop Aaron Hopp from going to the pump.
I put in $100 gave me 3 bars. So I think there's about 6 or 7 bars.
$100 seemed to be the high mark. That's also the amount Shannon Van Rees put into his jet skis for his family's afternoon on the water.
$100.
So just for today?
Just for today.
How long does that last you?
It was 18 gallon and maybe 3 hours.
So $100 for 3 hours on the water.
Yes.
Van Rees said the year before, filling up cost half as much.
In a smaller boat like this, it doesn't use a lot of gas, so that's not much of a concern.
I asked Brian Chalmond how much gas prices would have to rise before they became an obstacle.
Probably have to get pretty crazy because we don't have to drive very far, and pretty efficient vehicle, pretty efficient boat. So in our case, it would just have to be out of this world to stop us, I think.
Van Rees said something similar when I asked if gas would ever get too expensive for him to boat.
I don't think it ever will, because you can regulate how much gas you use on the lake by how far you go and how fast you do it.
Wanting to boat doesn't mean people weren't being budget conscious.
I wasn't going to put more than 100 in, and I can go a long time.
It just means right now, boating is worth the higher prices.
No, you got to get the kids out on the water and show them a good time and do your best and tighten up in other places.
Now, to start this week, AAA showed the national average for a gallon of gas, $5.01. In Missouri, average cost was $4.67. In Kansas, $4.66. Oklahoma, $4.64. In Arkansas, cut yourself a deal down there, did you? $4.53. Our question for you this morning is, do you plan on traveling this summer? Whether or not you have plans or whether it's the cost of gas that's maybe prohibiting it. You can let us know. Go straight to the poll, KOAMNewsNow.com/vote, or connect to us via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now. Be back with Health Watch next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, a new study out of England reveals how much exercise teenagers need every day to stay healthy. And it may not be as much as you think. Ian Lee has the story.
There we go. So nice and slow to begin with.
13-year-old Kitty is doing a health check.
That's it, Kitty. Keep this up.
Completing a non-stop 20-yard shuttle run.
Good work. High five. Yeah, well done.
How was it?
It was hot, but bearable.
That's exactly how researchers from Oxford University say it should feel. Their new study revealed children benefit from spending 20 minutes a day breathing hard and getting red in the face.
We really do recommend that children and adolescents get into these good habits of exercising frequently at these high levels now.
Researchers tested activity levels of more than 300 kids and found short bursts of panting and sweating were enough to improve physical, mental, and cognitive health. While the World Health Organization says children should get 60 minutes of moderate to strenuous exercise a day, Oxford's lead author found less is more if you go harder.
You do need to get hot and sweaty, you do need to get breathless, but you don't have to do it for an hour, you only have to do it for about 20 minutes a day in total.
Researchers say the fitness benefits of grueling workouts plateau at about 20 minutes. They encourage kids to find an activity they love to do with friends, and Kitty agrees.
I think when you do it together, you can also motivate each other, and you want to do well with your friends.
Kids helping kids to become healthy adults. Ian Lee, CBS News, Oxford, England.
Researchers also found that teenage boys tend to get more vigorous exercise than girls. The findings are published in this month's Pediatrics Journal. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Coming up, a single vehicle rollover crash in Jasper County leaves a man with serious injuries.
Nary a cloud in the sky, but that means the heat is going to take its toll. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the Greenbush Kids Summer Camp has 3 goals they want kids to achieve this summer.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories and much more in just a few minutes. But first, let's go to Michael Hayslip.
We kind of ran out of time on our tower cams. But you have to remember, when you have an orbit that low for our strawberry moon is what we're talking about with it being so full. But because you get an orbit that close, it sinks so fast. So if you have one last fleeting look, go look out to the west right here, and maybe you'll be able to lay eyes on it before it dips back down. But don't worry, it'll be, excuse me, while today is the official full moon, you'll have plenty of time throughout the course of this week because it'll maintain its brightness and its clarity. Temperatures already sitting high 70s, low 80s, heat advisories for our far northern counties, and even got some wind advisories out there for western Oklahoma. Not a whole lot of action in our neck of the woods, minus what we get up to the far north. Not a whole lot of action on the Skywatch Storm Tracker as far as radar goes either, whether it be the satellite coverage for the clouds or precipitation. We're going to be on the dry side and windy side as well, similar to what we had yesterday, but we're already rolling 15 to 20 miles per hour this morning. Yesterday we had to wait till the afternoon before we picked up to about 15 to 20. Not a whole lot of gap currently between the temperature and what it feels like. That, of course, is going to change this afternoon as it'll feel high 90s, and we'll certainly see a couple triple-digit heat index readings up there as well. Future track going to keep us on the dry side. Every now and then you'll see just a little pop of green. It comes out of nowhere, and very isolated rain showers is what those amount to, and that's why we keep those numbers on there for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but we do keep them so limited as well. Head into Father's Day weekend, just rolling in the 90s abound.
All right, well, it's warm out there. Be safe.
Yep. This will obviously be our hottest consecutive stretch of days for 2022.
For sure. All right, thanks, Michael. Police have opened an investigation to determine who helped an area hit-and-run suspect elude authorities for more than a week. Saturday night, Independence, Kansas officers arrested Brian Metzger for a suspicion of attempted murder. Authorities accuse Metzger of intentionally hitting another man with a car on June 2nd. Authorities had arrested 2 people for felony interference in this case on June 7th, and police say they are now seeking search warrants to gather more evidence and expect to make more arrests. Authorities respond to a single car rollover in Jasper County on Saturday night. Carl Junction Fire Protection, Jasper County Sheriff's deputies, and Met's ambulance respond to a single car rollover near 3000 Peace Church Road. When first responders arrived on the scene, they found a 2006 Chevy HHR with the driver Jason Campion of Galena, Kansas, partially ejected and pinned. Campion was transported to Freeman West with serious injuries. According to one trooper, Campion was not wearing a seatbelt and would have had only suffered minor injuries if he had been. We'll have more information on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. With these high temperatures, it's important to not stay outside for too long to avoid health issues like heat stroke. And to help, the City of Joplin is opening cooling stations to the public. Those locations include City Hall, the City Health Department, the Dr. Donald Clark Public Safety Center, and the Joplin Athletic Center. They're open from 8 in the morning to 5 p.m. on weekdays. You can find a map of area cooling stations on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Greenbush summer camp is underway, and it's encouraging campers to grow, work with one another, and have fun. KOAM's Jalen Banks has more.
This week, the Greenbush Summer Kids Camp has over 40 campers, and they're incorporating activities to accomplish three things: to do something outside of your comfort zone, kindness and teamwork, and to most importantly, have fun.
So for me, every single day of camp, if we're meeting those three goals, I think that gives every person, every staff, every camper some purpose and some joy in what we're doing.
The campers will participate in archery, canoeing, multiple science classes, high and low rope courses, and a multitude of other things to achieve those goals. The camp also serves as a training ground for college students, giving them an opportunity to teach and work with the campers. Audrey Korn, a recent Pitt State grad, has worked at the camp for 4 years and says the camp has helped her grow into the teacher she will be.
Incorporating many different learning styles in one activity or one lesson. So whether that be using visual aids such as like the computer or like a PowerPoint, and then giving questions or writing on the board, having them write things down, doing hands-on things, and having them do the hands-on activity while they're doing it is a big way to just help touch base in their brains of like, oh, these are different things, and like putting it in different perspectives for them.
In Girard, Kansas, at the Greenbush Summer Kids Camp, Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
The camp is available for students from K through 8th grade and runs through Thursday. Here's Michael with a look at your forecast.
Going to be a hot one today, up around 93 degrees. It'll be similar to yesterday, so don't be deceived when you look at the map and say, oh, I don't see the majority of the 4 states in that heat advisory. It just shifted up to the north a little bit, but the humidity and the wind are still going to make a big difference between the 93 temperature itself and what it will feel like this afternoon. Speaking of that wind, it's already coming in at 15 to 20 miles per hour out of the south.
This morning, we're discussing travel and gas prices. Summertime means one thing for a lot of people heading down to the lake or river to do some boating. But with gas prices soaring, things might be a little different this year. In Missouri, the average cost of a gallon of gas is $4.67. In Kansas, it's $4.66. In Oklahoma, it's $4.64. And in Arkansas, it's $4.53. That's according to AAA, though. Now those prices won't keep some avid boaters off the water this year any more than it'll keep avid drivers off the road. For some, it just means tightening the belt in other places. And for them, while it might be expensive, they say it's worth it.
Unless you're one of the 80% answering our poll, because right now, Tanya, do you plan on traveling this summer? That's exactly what it is. 80% saying no.
And that question includes traveling to the lake, so.
My goodness. And it doesn't come as any surprise because we do not know when we're going to see anything at the pub actually go back down. You can take part each and every morning. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. That'll take you directly to the poll. You can also connect to us via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Higher prices have led to a rise in the popularity of couponing. Plus, UK officials charged two-time Academy Award winner Kevin Spacey with 4 counts of sexual assault. Well, it's the latest in his case. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, Kevin Spacey has a court date in London this Thursday. The actor is charged with 4 counts of sexual assault against 3 men and a 5th charge involving sexual consent. These charges come after an investigation by UK officials into 2 alleged incidents in London in 2005, another 2 in London in 2008, and 1 in Gloucestershire in 2013. Spacey has faced accusations of sexual misconduct before, but these are the first formal charges. Indigenous groups in Ecuador are protesting over several issues and have blocked the entrance to the capital, Quito. The movement is demanding a reduction in fuel prices, unemployment, regulation of the prices of farm products, and a fight against crime and insecurity. In a press conference, the leader of the group said the protest will be peaceful and rejected the accusations of violence by government officials. President Guillermo Lasso asked the movement to reflect and specified that blockades are not good for the country since it needs to produce and reactivate. The global food crisis has begun to impact a key local staple on the menu in the UK. Some of Britain's fish and chip shops say they are now at risk due to supply chain shortages and rising prices. Anna Stewart has more.
People flock to the seaside town of Whitstable for this. A peaceful day out on these pebbly shores. It feels far removed from the war in Ukraine, but its impact is still reaching the UK shores and Britain's unofficial national dish.
This is delicious. You actually just can't beat eating fish and chips right by the seaside. Now, this traditionally was considered quite a cheap meal, but everything you see here is shooting up in price. From the white fish and the batter used to cook it, the potatoes and the cooking oil, the mushy peas, even the packaging.
Since last year, vegetable oil is nearly 50% more expensive globally. Wheat prices are up even more, and the price of fertilisers made in the UK are up nearly 180%, which pushes up the cost of vegetables like potatoes. All key ingredients for fish and chips, and all that largely a result of the war in Ukraine, one of the world's biggest producers of food commodities.
Thank you very much.
BC Jones is a family-run business.
So how long has this been in your family?
Oh, 60 years.
60
plus.
years?
The last 2 years have seen it battered by these rising costs.
You see the horror going on in Ukraine. Brexit had an impact. Prices of fish, everything's gone through the roof.
So much of the white fish that you get in fish and chip shops is actually caught in Russian waters, and that's got more expensive as a result of tariffs.
Seeing the price of cod increase week on week to 60% so far, it's directly linked to the sanctions.
Your profit margins must be really squeezed.
The profit margins are literally evaporating.
Down at the harbour, local fishermen are bringing up shellfish, the main catch for this seaside town.
What affects us is oil, price of fuel. You know, I mean, my diesel bill has doubled. You know, I'm only a little boat at the end of the day, but you know, it's a big cost.
For these fishermen and the UK's chippies, the problem doesn't stop there. Not only have prices gone up, but customers have less money to spend.
Energy bills have gone up, petrol's gone up as well. Yeah, I definitely will be more conscious, I think, when I go out.
I definitely think twice before we decide to go out.
To be truthful, I'm looking for the cheapest place to have the food because I used to go in the restaurant, but when you go there now, it's horrible. The price is nearly double.
It's 26.
For now, fish and chips still appears to be in hot demand here. But as the cost of living continues to bite, tucking into this traditional seaside dish may become less palatable.
That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Authorities on Monday arrest a second inmate who escaped from the Barry County, Missouri jail earlier this month. The Barry County Sheriff's Office says Matthew Crawford was arrested in Springfield. Crawford is the second of 3 escaped inmates to be caught. Christopher Blevins was arrested last week near Casper, Wyoming. Authorities are still searching for Lance Stevens. If you know anything about his whereabouts, you were asked to contact police. Out of control fires are scary, and a fire at a gas pump is extra scary. Just before noon on Monday, officials responded to the Harps grocery store and gas station in Airport Drive. They say a pickup truck was fully engulfed in flames at the gas pump. The fire was under control in a couple of minutes. No one was injured. Thanks to a Carl Junction veteran, a stretch of 171 is now named to honor those who serve. Missouri lawmakers last month passed a bill to name a section the Atomic Veterans Memorial Highway. U.S. Navy veteran Clayton Bernie Crosby worked for years to push the legislation. The National Association of Atomic Veterans recognizes veterans who were exposed to radiation during atomic bomb tests. With these high temperatures, it's important to not stay outside for too long to avoid health issues like heat stroke. To help, the City of Joplin is opening cooling stations to the public. Those locations include City Hall, City Health Department, the Dr. Donald Clark Public Safety Center, and the Joplin Athletic Center. They're open from 8 in the morning until 5 p.m. on weekdays, and you can find a map of area cooling stations on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And don't hesitate to take advantage of it, folks. That's why the city opens them up, because for the next several days, we are going to be locking 90-degree temperatures. Our current conditions over 7th and Rangeline as we find ourselves 9 minutes away from official sunrise at Joplin. 81 degrees, gusting winds already at 29 miles per hour. A whole lot of high 70s, low 80s. These are not wind gusts, these are actual sustained winds. So we're already bumping up in that 15 to 20 mile an hour range here pre-sunrise. Heat advisories for our counties up into the far north. So it's not all encompassing as what it was yesterday, but no matter where you are, it's still going to be hot. And here's an interesting thing about our expiration time for those heat advisories. Look at this. Now lasting all the way into Wednesday night. I figure they're just going to skip a day on that, because we know the heat's not going to go anywhere. Skywatch Storm Tracker going to keep us dry. The biggest part of the heat wave now shifting right over the Mississippi River. So while it does move a little bit out to the east, the milder weather still hanging out to the far west. So we really don't get a break at all, to the tune of rolling into the 90s, feeling, say around in between 97 and 100. You could back off maybe a degree or two heat index wise compared to what we had yesterday. We'll keep a slight chance for rain here for the middle of the week. It's going to be very isolated, very quick hitting, not widespread by any means. It's really just a matter, like Tanya said, there are cooling stations out there. Check out KOAMnewsnow.com. And if you feel the need that you need a chance to cool off, take advantage of it. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Well, people across the U.S. are facing skyrocketing prices at the grocery store and the gas station, and that's leading many people to turn to couponing to find deals and save a few bucks. Evan McMorris Santoro spoke with one extreme couponer who says it's a necessity.
Darina Carter, mother of 4, law enforcement spouse, regular person, until she spots a deal.
I have my coupon right here, so I'm going to get 2 of these. So for 2 toothpaste, I paid $4.58 right here. And then when I paid for it, I end up getting $4 of points back. So with the $4 of points, I decided to get Friday night dinner for the kids. These were buy one, get one free.
Did you ever think that you'd be one of those people, like those people on the internet who, like, before they go shopping are like checking in a bunch of apps and looking at all this?
It just seemed like so much work. No.
Things have changed.
What's behind door number 2?
This will be some summer clothes. We have some swimsuits. They all have tags on them. These, believe it or not, were a penny.
How to create an extreme couponer in 2022. Take one mom and add inflation. Prices remain near a 40-year high.
I can tell from having the same budget that I had before all of this, I would get less. It seemed like the bags would get smaller and smaller every time. Milk has gone up tremendously. Just because I'm the sole person that does the grocery shopping, I can tell.
Couponing culture has been popular online for years. Promises of monster deals on luxury items or trips are ubiquitous.
How can you get a YSL wallet on chain for 65% off?
Staying at a resort that cost $700 a night, but I only paid $200.
But that's not what hooked Darina. This is.
What's up, guys? We are back at Aldi for another $10 challenge. The coupon takes off $2, leaving you to only pay 75 cents.
It doesn't matter how expensive the food is, we still need tissue, we still need clothes, there were still things that we still needed. And if there was a way that I could possibly cut corners, or if that was able to happen, I started getting more interested.
Prices in the grocery stores, let's face it, with inflation, they're going up.
Do people mention inflation to you?
All the time. I recently did a video, of course, one of the videos that I do the most, how to eat dinner for a week with only $10. We got rice, we got beans, we got burritos, and they were only $1.19, so we were like, okay, let's get tomatoes. So the struggle is real for so many people who have never had to experience that struggle before. So I have a lot of people that kind of come in the back door. They don't want to write it on the page, so they'll DM me or they'll email me. And these are people who were successful before and have had to drastically cut back. So it's not just people who would be classified as low income.
This economy is changing the way some people think about money. Dorina says she's now a couponer for life.
All right. It is time consuming, but definitely worth it. We'll take another look at your forecast right after this.
Not a big difference right now between our temperatures and what it feels like. High 70s, low 80s, kind of maybe a degree or two as we stand here at 5:57, right at sunrise, as a matter of fact, over Joplin. That's our official sunrise time for June the 14th. But we are going to notice the difference this afternoon as our temperatures, when we press up around 90, 93, going to be feeling about like 99 all the way up to 100, 101 every now and then. And as far as future track goes, we're going to stay dry. Every now and then you'll see a little pop of green, and that'll be why when we get to the 7-day forecast, you'll see slight chances for rain for both Wednesday, Thursday, and into Friday. But once again, these are very isolated, very quick. We're not looking at anything widespread. And nice thing is, we're not having to deal with anything severe. We keep the low category up into the upper plains and then another swath on the mid-Atlantic. For us, it's really just a matter of staying safe out in the heat as we roll the 90s each and every day in the Father's Day weekend. Overnight lows only in the 70s. We'll be back right after this.
Coming up, a fire at a gas pump in Airport Drive causes worry.
Now that we've officially reached sunrise over the 4 states, let the heat up begin. We got another muggy one on our hands with the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we've got an update on a range line bridge project.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, let's go to Michael Hayslip, who's tracking the heat.
Set a record last night, warmest low that we've had for June the 13th, warmest low. And so what I mean by that is we only bottomed out at 79 degrees. The previous warmest low dates all the way back to 1958. And so if that's where we bottomed out, imagine where we're going to end up again today. Here is our daily almanac for June the 14th. Average high would be 86. And once again, 1953, that's back-to-back days where 1953 has held the record high. So that had to be one scorcher of a summer back then. Live look outside of Television City. We've got a pretty good south wind coming in as we sit anywhere right now in between 78 and 81. We do have heat advisories for our far north and northwestern counties, but just because your county may not be considered part of the heat advisory, let's not fool ourselves into thinking that it's going to be anything but triple-digit heat indices for later on this afternoon. Skywatch Storm Tracker, we don't even have any cloud cover around the area. Got to get out into the the Ohio River Valley out to the east and then the upper plains to find any thunderstorm activity. So we'll call that a positive. Now we just got to fight the wind and the humidity and try to stay cool at the same time as we're already coming in anywhere from 15 to 20 miles per hour. Back into the 90s today. This begins our string of 90s that is going to last us through Father's Day weekend and into next week, as a matter of fact. Overnight lows going to hang in the 70s. But right now, I need everybody to be safe outside, whole lot of water, sunscreen, light clothing, check on your pets, check on your neighbors. And let's get used to kind of that phraseology because the heat's not going to back off anytime soon.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. That's definitely want to be safe out there if you're forced to work, if you have to work out in the heat and be out there doing it.
Yep, so for some people not avoidable, so let's just get back into those usual precautions. One of those things that I know people know how to stay safe, it's just that I get a little bit worrisome there when we begin a string of elongated time that we're going to run this, because oftentimes in the past we'll slip in a 90 every now and then for one day, and go right back down. That's not the case right now.
All right, thanks, Michael. Well, out of control fires are scary. A fire at a gas pump is extra scary. Just before noon on Monday, officials responded to the Harps grocery store and gas station in Airport Drive. They say a pickup truck was fully engulfed in flames at the pump. The fire was under control in a couple of minutes. No one was injured. Authorities on Monday arrested a second inmate who escaped from the Berry County, Missouri jail earlier this month. Berry County Sheriff's Office says Matthew Crawford was arrested in Springfield. Crawford is the second of 3 escaped inmates to be caught. Christopher Blevins was arrested last week near Casper, Wyoming. Authorities are still searching for Lance Stevens. If you know anything about his whereabouts, you were asked to contact police. And police have opened an investigation to determine who helped an area hit-and-run suspect elude authorities for more than a week. Saturday night, Independence, Kansas officers arrested Brian Metzger for a suspicion of attempted murder. Authorities accuse Metzger of intentionally hitting another man with a car on June 2nd. Authorities had arrested 2 people for felony interference in this case on June 7th. Police say they're now seeking search warrants to gather more evidence and expect to make more arrests. A portion of Joplin's Rangeline Road is set to close in just over a month, and work has been progressing on the bridge project near 29th Street. The work is to replace the railroad bridge with one that's higher to accommodate than trains. The new bridge will also include sidewalks, and crews have been working to relocate utilities around the bridge. And on July 18th, the bridge will close to traffic. The closure is expected to last about 87 days. That has one business owner concerned.
You know, about 90% of my business comes from the northern end of Joplin, Webb City, Carthage, Carterville area, Carl Junction. So it's going to be a big impact. Hopefully they're going to let me have some access to the street in front of me, but people are just going to have to learn how to loop around and detour to me.
MoDOT says the road is scheduled to reopen November 1st ahead of the holiday shopping season, although some other cosmetic work may be ongoing. Well, another future project is in the works in Joplin from MoDOT. The department is taking public comment for work on 7th Street from Schifferdecker to Rangeline. This work is slated for late 2024 and could include things like pavement improvements, traffic flow improvements, and sidewalk improvements. Officials with MoDOT say this project is a bit different than most.
We want to hear from the public, and we really do want to hear your ideas and your suggestions to incorporate into this project. This is your street in your town. You live here and you drive here, so you should have some say-so in how the project goes.
MoDOT has set aside about $30 million for the project. Well, thanks to Carl Junction veteran, a stretch of 171 is now named to honor those who served. Missouri lawmakers last month passed a bill to name a section of the Atomic Veterans Memorial Highway. U.S. veteran Clayton Bernie Crosby worked for years to push the legislation. The National Association of Atomic Veterans recognizes veterans who were exposed to radiation during atomic bomb tests.
I'd be happy to go any place and talk about my experience. Every veteran that serves has experience. They have something that they can tell that I can't. We all have a story that needs to be told, but a lot of veterans don't talk about it.
Crews are still working on the official signage for the name change. Jazz was alive in Pittsburgh on Monday. Pitt State hosted the Summer Kicks Jazz Band for a performance as part of the Festival of the Arts. The band is made up of area musicians, including PSU faculty, students, and community members. Performance at the Bicknell Family Center for the Arts, and there are more performances planned for the rest of the week.
Well, it's the interaction with the audience. You know, we have people coming from the whole region, not only from Pittsburgh, from all Southeast Kansas area. You know, people have the luxury of picking what they want to watch and what they want to see. You know, so we have a concert every night this week from Monday all the way to Saturday.
All right, well, today, back in 1922, Warren G. Harding becomes the first president to be heard on radio. President Harding, while addressing a crowd at the dedication of a memorial site for the composer of the Star-Spangled Banner, Francis Scott Key, became the first president, of course, to have his voice transmitted by radio. The broadcast heralded a revolutionary shift in how presidents addressed the American public. It was not until 3 years later, however, that a president would deliver a radio-specific address. That honor went to President Calvin Coolidge. In 1920, radio station KDKA in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, announced Harding was the official winner of that year's presidential election, and that was the first time election results were broadcast live. Harding was an advocate for advanced technology and became the first president to own a radio and have it installed in the White House.
I'll be darned. I had no idea.
Times are changing. We're changing.
Yeah.
Still are.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that, you know, not too long ago, you had to wake up and find your newspaper on the corner the next day to see who won your election.
Mm-hmm. Or the next couple of days, depending on where you lived.
Yeah, very good point. Only thing I know about Warren Harding is he's from Ohio. I do know that. Oh, and the Teapot Dome. I know he got caught up. Well, his administration got caught up in that. Don't sell oil reserve rights, folks, especially illegally. Temperatures right now, high 70s, low 80s, strong southerly breeze, 15 to 20 miles per hour, up into the 90s once again. Let's go ahead and roll out the muggy-meter. And even though you'll see today, we hit that right in between very humid and oppressive, really at this point, what's 1 degree difference? Because each and every afternoon into Father's Day weekend, we get to roll that oppressive category. Not much action on future track as far as any rain. We do see light chances in the middle of the week here. Those are going to be very isolated, quick hitters, not widespread, not looking at anything severe. Of course, when we do get to this time of year and we warm up this month, could have a little lightning involved with that every now and then. But once again, Tanya, coming off of breaking the warmest low temperature for June the 13th, I got a feeling when we reconvene tomorrow morning, we're going to be talking about breaking another warmest low for June the 14th.
All right. Well, I noticed it this morning on the way to work. 81 is what my vehicle said it was.
Speaking of records, we were talking about 1953 earlier. Chanute's record for today, 1953, no surprise. 104. 104 in the middle of June.
Ouch.
My goodness.
That hurts. All right, thanks, Michael. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, a coyote goes after a cat, and the cat says, "No way, Jose, I'm fighting back." Stick with us. We'll have the outcome of this gathering. Plus, it's day 2 on the January 6 hearings. We'll have the breakdown of what came out of day 2, and trampoline centers are fun. But did you know they're extremely dangerous? We'll explain why. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, the House Select Panel investigating the January 6th insurrection spent day 2 of testimony trying to show Donald Trump embraced conspiracy theories rather than admitting he lost the 2020 election. The former president issued a statement on Monday calling the committee investigating the January 6th Capitol assault a kangaroo court meant to distract Americans. Naomi Ruckham reports.
On day 2 of the historic hearings, the House Select Committee worked to unravel former President Trump's false claims of winning the 2020 election.
Donald Trump lost an election and knew he lost an election, and as a result of his loss, decided to wage an attack on our democracy.
The panel of 7 Democrats and 2 Republicans investigating the January 6th Capitol attack played clips of Mr. Trump's unsubstantiated claims before and after Election Day.
The only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged. You can press a button for Trump and the vote goes to Biden. What kind of a system is this?
In a recorded interview, former Attorney General Bill Barr recalled the president showing him a report alleging voting machines were rigged.
I thought, boy, if he really believes this stuff, he has, lost contact with he's become detached from reality.
The committee also raised questions about hundreds of millions of dollars Team Trump solicited online after his election defeat.
Not only was there the big lie, there was the big ripoff.
The committee pointed to millions in donations it says were funneled not to a legal defense fund, but to the president's Save America PAC, which would spend more than $200,000 on Trump's hotel properties, $1 million to a foundation led by Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, and $5 million to the company that helped organize the January 6th White House Ellipse rally that preceded the riot. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
The committee is expected to hold at least 5 more hearings. The next is Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Wyoming Republican Liz Cheney, the committee's vice chair, says future hearings will cover the former President Trump's attempt to corrupt the Department of Justice and pressure local officials to overturn the election. That's a look at today's top national story. We'll be right back.
They're not just chasing road runners in Texas. In fact, one homeowner's camera captured a neighborhood cat fending off a coyote. Jason Miles with the story.
Most of us think of the beach when we think of Surfside, but one homeowner who's never encountered a coyote has proof they're here too. In what could have been a catastrophe, this light-footed feline successfully fends off a coyote, eventually clawing its way to safety atop a support pole on a Surfside family's deck.
So I didn't even know coyotes could climb stairs.
Homeowner Tony Gray,
that's the camera right there that caught it all,
was awakened by the skirmish, witnessed part of the attack, then banged on the window to scare off the coyote.
I've never seen one before, never experienced them. I've heard about rabies. I didn't want to introduce myself to a situation where I got hurt.
Gray moved to Surfside full-time last year and wasn't even aware coyotes were here. But he says he has respect for native wildlife in the Gulf or on land.
The last thing I would want to do would be to mess up that ecosystem, so maybe it's just best if people keep their pets inside at night.
According to Texas Parks and Wildlife, coyotes are not uncommon in suburban and urban areas or along the coast. It also advises you to keep pets inside if possible and never leave food outside. Gray doesn't know who this scrappy cat belongs to, but is glad it appears to have avoided serious injury as a result of this Surfside showdown.
They say they have 9 lives, so I hope he's got 8 left.
All's well that ends well. I do want to harken back to the first soundbite that Mr. Gray, featured in the story there, had to say. I believe, and I may have heard wrong. We know my hearing's not the best. Did he say, I did not know coyotes could climb stairs? I'm getting affirmation from everybody. He did say that. Okay. Do you think he's got a dog that climbs stairs? I mean, yeah, coyotes can climb stairs. And this just in from the Skywatch Weather Center. I'm reporting this exclusively. Coyotes can climb stairs. Hello to the glow cloud over Joplin. 80 degrees is where we stand. Look at that last gust picked up at Joplin Regional Airport, 32 miles per hour. A little bit windier today than what we had yesterday. Temperatures very similar in nature right now to what we had yesterday morning. The wind really is the big factor. The humidity has not budged. But interestingly enough, we're able to actually eliminate a whole lot of our counties from the heat advisory that we started off with on Monday. But look at the heat advisory for our far northern counties. You'll notice it just goes until Wednesday. So pretty much elongated that. And even if you're not in the midst of a heat advisory, please know it is going to be dangerously hot out there. Skywatch Storm Tracker still looking clear as can be. We'll stay dry. Anything that we do see Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, very isolated, very quick. Important thing right now is making sure that you stay hydrated with a whole bunch of sunscreen. 90s up until Father's Day. Be back right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, a new study finds a drug commonly used to treat parasite infections may not be helpful for those with COVID-19. Study from Duke and Vanderbilt universities tested the efficacy of ivermectin for patients with mild or moderate COVID-19 symptoms. Researchers found there were no differences in relief between those taking the drug and patients who got the placebo. There was also no difference in the number of hospitalizations or visits to the ER. Children who learn to play well with others in preschool may have better mental health as they get older. British researchers analyzed data from nearly 1,700 children ages 3 to 7 years old. They found those who were better at playing with others had lower hyperactivity, fewer conduct and emotional problems, and were less likely to get into fights with other children. And children who play at trampoline centers are more likely to be seriously injured and require hospitalization than those who use trampolines at home. A new study published in the journal Injury Prevention found leg injuries, sprains, and the need for surgery were more common at the trampoline parks. Researchers believe this may be due to structural differences in the types of trampoline. Trampoline use accounts for nearly 100,000 ER visits by children each year in the U.S. World Health Organization is considering a proposal to rename monkeypox, which has sickened more than 1,500 people in at least 47 countries. Dozens of scientists signed a document that claims the name monkeypox is discriminatory and stigmatizing. They say that name references the virus's African roots. That's no longer true since it is so many nations now. They also note the strain currently circulating likely is not the original one that was transmitted from animals. Renaming the virus wouldn't be out of the ordinary. The WHO did it with COVID-19 too, which is now why variants are now named after letters of the Greek alphabet instead of their earlier names like Wuhan and South African strain. The FDA approves its first treatment for alopecia. Officials say Olumiant blocks an enzyme that leads to inflammation caused by severe alopecia areata. The inflammation can trigger the body to attack its own hair follicles, causing the hair to fall out in clumps, leading to patchy baldness. FDA says about 300,000 people in the U.S. suffer from the autoimmune disorder. Eli Lilly conducted 2 trials to receive federal approval. In both trials, people who received the treatment maintain more of their hair. The FDA has approved Olumiant to treat rheumatoid arthritis and some patients in the hospital with COVID-19. The youngest Americans may soon be able to get vaccinated against COVID-19. The Food and Drug Administration says Pfizer's 3-dose treatment is safe for children under the age of 5. The FDA also says the shots create a beneficial immune response that's similar to the response older people get from the vaccine. The findings are based on a trial that involved more than 4,500 children under the age of 5. Advisors with the FDA are scheduled to meet Wednesday to determine if shots from Pfizer should be given an emergency use authorization. Also this week, FDA experts will evaluate administering Moderna's COVID vaccine to young children. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Coming up, a fire at a gas pump in Airport Drive causes worry.
Heat advisories perhaps not as widespread as what they were yesterday, but don't be deceived. It's a scorcher in the 4 states. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we give you an update on Joplin's Rangeline Bridge project.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6:29. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Mike Layslip.
Lock in for another hot one. Going to be back up into the 90s, run that string of 90s. We're going to take this all the way through Father's Day weekend into next week, as a matter of fact. Here we are with a live look outside of Television City. Temperatures haven't had much of a bump. We're now about, 27 minutes past sunrise. And really, we're waiting on this thing to warm up and warm up fast, because it's not only the sunshine, but it's also the wind and the humidity. Now, our heat advisories, not as widespread geographically as what they were yesterday. But as I mentioned in the open there, do not be deceived, because no matter where you are in the 4 states, it is going to be hot today. As a matter of fact, here's a big factor. Yesterday, we had to wait till the afternoon until we got up into the 15 to 20 mile an hour range. Now, we're already cruising at 19 miles per hour out of the south-southwest at Joplin, gusting already up to, we've seen 32, 33 miles per hour already. And so what that's going to do for this afternoon is put us up into the 90s, say anywhere between 90, 93, and feel like, say 99 to 102. And the muggy meter is going to reflect that we're a long way from being over. Look how many times we peak in the oppressive category. The rain shots we have for the middle of the week going to be extremely isolated. Could pack a little lightning strike every now and then because of how warm we are, but it doesn't do anything to cool us down even after a front will roll through, as our overnight lows are still in the 70s.
Wow. Yeah. Well, we didn't even get that low this morning.
It's not even worth me putting up the old weather trend, right? Not the weather trend, the 10-day historical, because it's just a line.
You know what would be nice?
It goes like this.
If we took our lows and moved them over the highs.
Just tell me you don't want the highs to go down into the low category.
No. That'd be uncomfortable sleeping.
Yeah, that'd kind of be some interesting nights.
Yeah, for sure. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, just before noon, authorities respond to reports of a pickup truck catching fire at the Harp Store gas station in Airport Drive, Missouri. They say the truck was fully engulfed in flames at the pump. The fire was under control in a couple of minutes. No one was injured. Authorities on Monday arrested a second inmate who escaped from the Barry County, Missouri jail earlier this month. The Barry County Sheriff's Office says Matthew Crawford was arrested in Springfield. Crawford is the second of 3 inmates to be caught. Christopher Blevins was arrested last week near Casper, Wyoming. Authorities are still searching for Lance Stevens. If you know anything about his whereabouts, you're asked to contact police. Police have opened an investigation to determine who helped an area hit-and-run suspect elude authorities for more than a week. Saturday night, Independence, Kansas officers arrested Brian Metzger for suspicion of attempted murder. Authorities accused Metzger of intentionally hitting another man with a car on June 2nd. And authorities had arrested 2 people for felony interference in this case on June 7th. Police say they're now seeking search warrants to gather more evidence and expect to make even more arrests. Work is progressing on the Rangeline Bridge project in Joplin, which means a major traffic shift is about to happen. That shift could impact more than just your drive. KOAM's Chris Warner has the details.
A year ago, we told you about the project to replace the railroad bridge on South Rangeline in Joplin. Work is underway, and on July 18th, this portion of Rangeline will be closed.
Then it'll be closed up to 87 days. And right now, we're finalizing some of the permitting with the railroad, moving the last couple of utilities.
87 days is a long time, but MoDOT is offering incentives and penalties to the contractor to keep the project on schedule.
Yeah, if they go beyond the 87-day range, it's $20,000 per day for each day they go over. And there's also an incentive of $20,000 per day for each day they finish early.
The bridge itself is just no longer able to support the volume of traffic it sees.
Yeah, the bridge it's an old bridge. It sees a lot of traffic. It's in poor shape. It's becoming more and more of a maintenance issue for us to keep it going. And so the time comes when it becomes more financially responsible to just go ahead and replace the bridge and to keep doing maintenance, constant maintenance on it.
Stephen St. Clair is the president of Import Warehouse. A year ago, he had concerns about the project and the impact it could have on his business, and those concerns are still there.
You know, about 90% of my business comes from the northern end of Joplin, Webb City, Carthage, Carterville area, Carl Junction. So it's going to be a big impact. Hopefully they're going to let me have some access to the street in front of me, but people are just going to have to learn how to loop around and detour to me.
Detours will be posted for traffic along Missouri 249 from 7th to 32nd. For St. Clair, that detour is in the wrong direction.
There's no easy way, unless you know Joplin. You know, Connecticut or Davis Boulevard are your 2 options, but it is going to be difficult. We do have plans with our advertisement to kind of help show people from out of town how to get to us.
St. Clair adds they've made other changes beyond advertising ahead of the closure.
It's going to affect business. I mean, we're doing our parts. We've kind of slowed down on some of our orders, anticipating it.
St. Clair says he understands the project is important and must be done. He just wishes there were easier ways to do it. In Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
MoDOT says the road is scheduled to reopen November 1st ahead of the holiday shopping season, although some other cosmetic work may be ongoing. Well, today, back in 1940, Nazi Germany invades Paris. Parisians awakened to the sound of German accented voice announcing via loudspeakers that a curfew was being imposed for 8 p.m. that evening as German troops entered and occupied Paris, France. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill had tried for days to convince the French government to hang on and not sue for peace, and that America would enter the war and come to its aid. French Premier Paul Renaud telegrammed American President Franklin Roosevelt asking for aid. Roosevelt responded the United States was prepared to send material aid and was willing to have the promise published, but Secretary of State Cordell Hull opposed this as it would help signal to allies and to Hitler, and Hitler would take it as a prelude to a formal declaration of war.
Conspiracy theories abound about the number of telegrams that were sent between Europe and the United States, who got a hold of what was actually delivered, and what the actual statements were. Like I said, conspiracy theories. Weather trend for our Tuesday. Sunny skies, highs up into the 90s. Heat advisories for the far northeastern counties. Still feeling about like 99 to 102 just about everywhere that you turn, and let's get used to it. Run it all the way into, I keep on saying Father's Day weekend, but even Monday is turning up with 91, so it looks like we're just going to run this heat wave the next week.
All right. Okay. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, Jack Daniels and Coca-Cola team up to bring a classic classic view in a can. Plus, summer activities are fun for the entire family, whether you're at home or out on the road. Today, we want to know, do you plan to travel this summer? We let you weigh in. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, soaring inflation is making a comeback to the office, is making going back to the office more expensive, and the cost of your favorite lunch items is going up. And it comes as some food and drink companies are quietly shrinking the sizes of some of your favorite products without lowering prices. A closer look at the so-called lunchflation and shrinkflation phenomenons impacting your wallet.
The return to office life is growing more expensive by the day. But let's focus on the rising cost of food, from your morning coffee to that lunchtime salad.
I can tell from having the same budget that I had before all of this, I would get less. It seemed like the bags would get smaller and smaller.
The index for food away from home has increased 7.4% over the last year. That's according to a Labor Department report. Prices for food purchased to eat at home rose 11.9%. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that's the biggest 12-month jump since 1979.
It is kind of like a scary feeling because just thinking about what I used to be able to get before all of this compared to what I can get now.
Meanwhile, Starbucks raised prices in the U.S. earlier this year and said costs could continue to rise. And since the start of last year, salad chain Sweetgreen raised its menu prices by 10%. That's according to its recent earnings report. The budget pinch comes as the Fed is expected to announce another interest rate hike this Wednesday to help tame inflation. And as the White House works to bring down those soaring costs...
Make no mistake about it. I understand inflation is a real challenge to American families.
Then there's also shrinkflation. The AP reports companies are shrinking packages to deal with rising costs for raw materials, labor, and transportation. For example, Chobani Flips yogurts have shrunk from 5.3 ounces to 4.5 ounces. Bags of Frito Scoops marked party size used to be 18 ounces and are now 15.5 ounces at most retailers. And PepsiCo is downsizing Gatorade bottles from 32 to 28-ounce bottles.
PepsiCo says the Gatorade bottle switch has been in the works for years and is not related to the current economic conditions. Sure. Meanwhile, Domino's Pizza announced in January it was shrinking the size of its 10-piece chicken wings to 8 pieces for the same $7.99 carryout price. Domino's cited the rising cost of chicken. It's real. The S&P 500's nearly 4% drop Monday, but put the broad-based stock index into bear market territory. It's more than 20 below its record set early this year, and the S&P has fallen nearly 9% in just 3 days. Recession fears combined with Friday's inflation report showing price gains at 40-year highs, plus worries about rising interest rates are taking a toll on stocks. Now, tomorrow, the Federal Reserve is widely expected to announce it's raising rates again when the U.S. Central Bank wraps up its 2-day meeting. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies also plunged over the weekend. A major crypto lender, Celsius Network, says it's pausing all withdrawals and transfers between accounts to, quote, honor overtime withdrawal obligations. And that sent shockwaves across the cryptocurrency world. It remained unclear if Celsius depositors will get all of their funds back. Coca-Cola and the maker of Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey are teaming up to sell a ready-to-drink canned Jack and Coke cocktail. Coke and Brown-Forman Corp say the beverage will be available globally after a launch in Mexico later this year. Coca-Cola has been adding more alcoholic drinks to its portfolio since 2018 when it introduced Lemon Dew in Japan. That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the Instapoll and our KOAM News Now Facebook page, travel and gas prices. Summertime means one thing for a lot of people, heading down to the lake or river, get a little boating in, but with gas prices soaring, things could be a little bit different this year. In Missouri to start the week, average cost of a gallon, $4.67. In Kansas, $4.66. Oklahoma, $4.64. Arkansas cuts you a discount, $4.53. Ouch. Our question for you this morning is, do you plan to travel this summer? And I'm going to guess a lot of this has to do with the cost of not only gas, but the cost of everything. 76% of you say Nope, may spend a little bit more time at home this summer. You can take part each and every morning, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. That'll deliver you right to the Instapoll each and every morning. You can also hit us up on our Facebook page at KOAM News Now. We're going to come back, celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, but first, off to New York to check in with Mr. Tony.
I'm Tony DeCopel. Coming up on CBS Mornings, we'll talk with a former death row inmate about his life since being released from prison and what lessons he hopes young people can learn from his story. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Army Specialist Jesse Hodge. Parsons, Kansas native, served in Iraq as part of the 891st Engineer Battalion. This highly decorated veteran earned the Iraqi Campaign Medal and the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, just to name a few. To Specialist Jesse Hodge, we thank you, today's four-state hero.
The birthday list begins with Jacob Denman, celebrating number 15. Jacob, a very happy birthday to you in Nevada.
Zaylin Baldwin turning sweet 16 today in Oswego. Hope you have a great birthday, Zaylin.
In Jasper, Amber Jennings celebrating her 31st birthday. Miss Amber, a very happy birthday to you.
All right, and we've got Lisa
Hey
Lawrence. Oh, you better watch it. She's headed into the danger zone. Lisa is 51 in Joplin.
Kelly McGillis better not see that picture, Lisa. Or maybe Lisa would take down Kelly McGillis. I don't know. Could be. You know what we love to say? We got a boogie birthday. Yes, Miss Haley. Haley, a very happy birthday to you. Hope you get to enjoy your summer vacation, man. Thank you for everything that you've done as she celebrates in Frontenac.
All right, out in Parsons, we've got an anniversary to celebrate. Les and Deb Green are celebrating 47 years together. What a wonderful picture of the Greens.
Tom and Pat Christie, they are celebrating their 51st anniversary over the weekend. Tom happens to be one of our four-state heroes. So Tom, thank you for your service. Tom and Pat, congratulations as they celebrate more than half a century in Fort Scott.
All right, and Richard and Betty Craig are celebrating 64 years together. There's a little throwback picture for the Craigs in Baxter Springs. We've got love from Mo, Trish, and in loving memory of their son, Rich.
That's a great picture right there. Susie Cook is celebrating her 108th birthday. Look at the cake. Look at Miss Susie. And a crown fitting for a queen. Susie, a happy birthday from all of us here at KOAM and Fox 14. I hope you had just a marvelous birthday celebration. And thank you for letting us celebrate with you, Miss Cook. And once again, Susie Cook turning 108.
All right.
That is tremendous. I got a question here on this next. Say what?
Love her smile.
Yeah, that's perfect. That is perfect. I got a question here on this next one. You've been in the studio, right? He knows where we work. He could have emailed it in. He could have gone to the website. He could have dropped it off. No. Mr. Clifford decided that he would rather just have text for him and Pam. All right, I see how it is. But Clifford and Pam weren't. They are celebrating their 48th anniversary. So Clifford, know that we love you. Miss Pam, we love you for tolerating Mr. Clifford, who works out at Connected Culture. They are in Webb City.
All right.
David and Shani Hunley, 49 years. The Hunleys, they had an anniversary just several days ago. They celebrate in Joplin. And look, this is amazing. 48, 49. We start with Susie, you know. Well, actually, go back to Les and Deb Green. Listen to these anniversaries that we got here: 47, 51, 64, 48, 49, and now 53 for Calvin and Marcia Bradney. That is absolutely amazing. Congratulations to Calvin and Marcia as they celebrate in Columbus. And you think about all those years, Tanya, and then we also get to celebrate with Miss Susie and 108. That is absolutely an amazing birthday and anniversary list for today. Here's where you can send them into. Birthdays at KOAMTV.com. You can also submit them online at KOAM KOAMnewsnow.com. Now here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And then on your birthday, you'll get special deals from some select local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Coming up, when the KOAM Morning News transitions over to Fox 14, we're going to meet an incredible young woman. She graduated at the age of 16. Oh, by the way, she's also a music prodigy. We're going to have her great story when we transition over to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Authorities on Monday arrest a second inmate who escaped from the Berry County, Missouri jail earlier this month. The Berry County Sheriff's Office says Matthew Crawford was arrested in Springfield. Crawford is the second of 3 escaped inmates to be caught. Christopher Blevins was arrested last week near Casper, Wyoming. Authorities are still searching for Lance Stevens. If you know anything about his whereabouts, you were asked to contact police. Out of control fires are scary, and a fire at a gas pump is extra scary. Just before noon on Monday, officials responded to the Harps grocery store and gas station in Airport Drive. They say a pickup truck was fully engulfed in flames at the pump. The fire was under control in a couple of minutes. No one was injured. Thanks to a Carl Junction veteran, a stretch of Highway 171 is now named to honor those who have served. Missouri legislators last month passed a bill to name a section the Atomic Veterans Memorial Highway. U.S. Navy veteran Clayton Bernie Crosby worked for years to push the legislation. The National Association of Atomic Veterans recognizes veterans who were exposed to radiation during atomic bomb tests. With our high temperatures, it's important to not stay outside for too long to avoid health issues like heat stroke. To help, the city of Joplin is opening cooling stations to the public. Those locations include City Hall, City Health Department, and Dr. Donald Clark Public Safety Center, and the Joplin Athletic Center. They're open from 8 in the morning until 5 p.m. on weekdays. You can find a map of area cooling stations on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And don't hesitate to take advantage of those cooling centers. It's a tribute to the city of Joplin that they're paying attention to how hot it's going to be for the rest of our week. Heat advisories up for our northern counties, but even if your county is not in the orange, please know it's going to be a scorcher today. High 70s, low 80s abound right now, a weather trend that will lift us up into the 90s. High humidity, strong south wind, and yep, we're going to be right back into the very humid / oppressive category for today and the rest of the week. Anything that we do see precipitation-wise going to be very spotty and isolated for the middle of the week. Not going to be widespread by any means. And lock in, once again, a whole lot of hydration when you're outside, light clothing. I love the fact that Tanya reminded us yesterday to check on your neighbors, take care of your pets, and take advantage of the cooling centers. That's why people open them up, folks.
All right. Yeah, definitely be safe, and if you have a place to get cool, take advantage of it. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making an icebox salad in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Morning news continues on KOAM. CBS Mornings is next. America's toxic political climate making it more dangerous for people who serve in public office. Ahead on CBS Mornings, what's being done to protect lawmakers? And we're going to hear from a man serving a sentence who regrets leaving a congressman a threatening voicemail.
All right, or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, a scoutmaster and some scouts become heroes as they risk their lives to make a roadside rescue.
Do us a favor, try to stay cool out there. Most importantly, be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.